Okay, we're going to try this again. How is everyone today? Maria Gonzalez here with Vida Del Norte. We tried to go live this morning for our coffee and conversation, but the connection that I had was pretty terrible. So we're going to try this again. Good morning. It's still morning, so we're not too far off from coffee and conversation. And today we're going to just talk about some of the issues that are pertaining to COVID, Thanksgiving, and substance misuse. I have Brian Salazar with Taos Behavioral, who is going to come on and join us here shortly. And he's going to talk a little bit about some of these issues that we're talking about in regards to alcohol use during the holidays, during this time of COVID, and some mental health issues as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Brian. If you can go ahead and come on in, we will go ahead. So, good morning. Were you able to join? Wait. Are you on, Brian? Can you put in the chat? Because I see you on, but I'm just showing you as watching. Okay, let me see. Okay, it's adding you now. So we'll go ahead and have hi, Brian.
Am I here?
You're here. I can see you.
Great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me today, Maria, to kind of talk about mental health and taking care of ourselves, not only during the holidays, but specifically now, really related to COVID, the coronavirus.
Right.
I think something, that I've noticed is I've been working in the field of mental health since 1999. And since that time, seeing something that's significantly different this year.
Right.
I think number one, what I'm seeing is that the social isolation is creating a lot of difficulties for people who have never had mental health, depression, anxiety, excessive worry, those type of issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing that I see is I see the increase in substance misuse. So
Right.
usually around the times of the holidays, we normally do see an increase in the misuse of substances as a way to numb our feelings, as a way to cope with getting together with our family or the historical trauma that our families carry and all of that. And we kind of use that as a temporary fix to get through the holidays.
Right.
What I'm noticing now, Maria, is that people are using this consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Because the trauma, the stress, the anxiety is not going away.
Right. Right. It's become kind of a norm. I think this year in particular, I even coming from my own experience, I've noticed that, myself and my husband, we have kind of picked up, we had been drinking a little bit more this year than we normally would. So it's definitely an issue.
Yeah, definitely. We even see it on our memes on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
We joke about it. We're like, today's task involves putting on a shirt, keeping on my pajamas, and popping open a bottle of wine.
Right.
You know, simple things like that, I think, have gotten to the point where we are now several months, almost a year into this pandemic.
Right.
And so I wonder at what point our bodies become addicted to those substances. At what point do our bodies lack the ability to self-regulate, to calm ourselves down, to strategize, to problem solve? Because I think this is something that's really challenging a lot of people, especially here in northern New Mexico, because it's taken a huge chunk out of our big traditions.
Right.
And that big tradition is our large families.
Mm-hmm.
You know, speaking from my own personal experiences, I come from large family on both sides. And this year, to have the elders have to make a decision that we were not going to do Thanksgiving was something that I really didn't know how to react to.
Right.
Because I think part of it, it's almost like the grief and loss of a loved one. It's like those traditions aren't the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen the same as it always has been. And so, in that, having a little bit of grief and loss about what do I do? How am I feeling unsettled? What does my Thanksgiving look like?
Right.
And so I think all of that is really contributing to a lot of what I'm seeing with our families and our you know community members, our gente in northern New Mexico, is this real struggle to, I miss my family so much. I want to get together because it's a tradition and this is what we do and this is what feels good. But then
Right.
on that other hand, really having to look at the severity of this pandemic and where it's taking us.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hit it right on the nose there. We, with the families and having the elders having to make those decisions. I mean, I know it was difficult for my mom to say no, and she's still like with this idea that why can't we, like, well, what are we going to do? She's already planning, what are we going to do for Christmas? And I'm like, Mom, this thing isn't going away, and we're like, and she's the most vulnerable. We need to protect her. It's not about us getting together. Like, yeah, it is, we really want that, but we want to also make sure that she's here next year to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas with us, because it is affecting our elderly population, and it's scary. And you talk about grief and loss, and I said to myself, I don't I'm so glad that my dad didn't live through this year. He passed last year, because it would have taken its toll on him. And I also, like, I kind of had a little breakdown last week, and I told Jason, I said, we lost two of our friends lost really hard, in finding that out, and like the reality kicked in of like, this is real, like, people, our friends are losing their parents because of this virus. And I broke down a little bit, because I told him, I said, I'm not ready to lose another parent. I can't go through something like that. So my anxiety peaked last week, thinking about Thanksgiving. And the truth is that we can't please everyone, and people are going to be mad and they're going to be upset. But the decision was made by my mom not to hold Thanksgiving, so we're going to do it creatively. We're cooking, we're all pitching in, we're all cooking. We're going to put plates together, and I'm going to deliver it to the different households, and we're going to do it on Zoom. And so we're going to still share a meal that's cooked by everyone, and that's how we're doing it this year.
Yeah, those are some really hard decisions. And I think that's one thing I'm noticing, even as a mental health professional who's been, like you, Maria, we've been in this for years, and still to know that we, even with our knowledge and our expertise, that we're still human and feeling those same anxieties and
Right.
pressures, that
Mhm.
everyone else in our community is feeling, is just really why I wanted to come on today to kind of, number one, normalize that what we're going through is normal.
Right.
We are living in a constant daily fight or flight mode
Mhm.
where we're saying, are we safe? Are we not? The second thing I want to say is that I think um, it's important that we have strong community support,
Right.
because even though we need to be physically distant, we don't need to lose the social interaction.
Right.
One of the things is, within my career is I work with kids, with youth, and with families, and so part of it is teaching kids how to even have fun online, playing Uno and different things like that. But it's really interesting to get to hear young people say, I'm tired of being on the computer. I don't want
Right.
to get on my PlayStation,
Hmm.
because they're so burnt with the constant screen time,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And then I think the final thing, that I've been reflecting on is our need as a community to keep spirituality and optimism up. you know we continue to lose vital important members of our community,
Hmm.
and I think it's important that we, number one, reflect and give support to those who are grieving. I think number two, that sometimes we step back from our own selfish ways sometimes to say, how is it benefiting us as a bigger community, as humanity, as wanting to keep our little village towns safe?
Right.
Because I think for a long time we've took for granted that for 400 plus years we've been so isolated from the rest of the world, and it's not like that anymore.
Right. Yeah, especially now. I think even during the summer months, we were a little bit more lax, and we didn't see the numbers rise here. So I think we all felt pretty safe. And but now, with the cases that we've seen jump in the last couple of weeks, it is really scary, um, because we don't know what community member. We lose one, and it's going to affect all of us. And I think that's the realization in all of this, and we really do need to protect each other and keep each other safe. um and I think, when we're talking about substance use and misuse, those judgments are impaired, and people take for granted that we are still in this pandemic, and we can kind of get a little bit more relaxed. And um, I just hope that we can all be safe in that manner, and really really think about what we're doing, these holidays, throughout the holidays.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think in terms of the substance misuse, it's really something that needs to come to a daily awareness of where you are emotionally and where you're feeling you may be using these substances to escape, or to numb, or to all of that, and to just be more aware
Right.
of how it is, because again, we know that holidays are always hard when it comes to that decision, and even just festive times, being around people and people you haven't seen and different things like that in the past. And I think it's hard to say, what does my substance use misuse addiction look like right
Right.
now?
Yeah.
Is it increased in severity? And I think sometimes the hard part, and I've worked with a lot of individuals who have been like me, who struggled with addiction, and it really comes down to being able to look in the mirror and to be honest with yourself about, how is this substance impacting your ability to just be a happy, healthy human,
Right.
part of the community, an integral part of our society,
Hmm.
you know. So I just think that awareness, um, you know, should be there. And I think right now, because we are forced by legal mandate to be in our homes and stuff, a great time for reflection.
Right.
And I think sometimes working in the mental health field, I think that was the biggest thing with my sobriety, is not wanting to know who I was sober.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I really pray and I put that energy and challenge out to individuals who may be struggling with the emotional instability and the substance misuse and the not knowing, to really say, number one, I'm more important than this. I'm vital and I'm integral to our community. And then number two, to also say, at what point do I need to ask for help?
Right.
Because
Are
we're
there
still here.
Do you have any suggestions, like maybe some tips that you can give that, maybe if people are feeling this way, especially now, I had a conversation with a woman a while back on one of the groups. I think it was one of the Taos groups, and she was talking about how it's a lonely time, and there's people are prone to depression and anxiety, and even contemplating suicide, right? When they're in that isolation. Are there any tips or anything that you can give to give out there, so that people, if they are feeling that way, they can reach out and get some support?
Right. In many ways I'm a kind of traditional therapist, and in many ways I'm not a traditional therapist. So some of the more Eastern ideologies like meditation and silence, and I think if that works for you as an individual in terms of, what works for you, I think that's important. The one thing I do want to say is make these focused on you. So number one is make sure you understand how to regulate your breathing, because oftentimes when we're depressed, our systems are depressed and we forget to take deep breaths.
Hmm.
Okay. When our anxiety is provoked and our heart's going 100 miles an hour and we feel like we're going to hyperventilate, we need to take deep breaths, because physiologically, that's what we need in order to do. You know, the other thing that I strongly suggest is be open to inventing and being part of new traditions.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Again, I've I've had to learn this, in very weird ways, but one of the things that I always noticed is I always brought flowers, like a bouquet of flowers to my aunt, a bouquet of flowers for the table. And one year my aunt said, every time you bring those flowers, it just reminds me of something your mom would buy. And so even though my mom wasn't physically here, every year we have a bouquet of flowers. That's just a kind of representation about, physically she may not be here, but her spiritual
Right.
self, that other dimension, is really, really close right now.
Yeah.
So I think being open to the celebration of those individuals that we've lost before,
Right.
rather than dwelling on the sadness,
Right.
because we have so much sadness around us.
Hmm.
And then the final thing that I really challenge is to try to make connection in non-typical ways. Okay.
Hmm.
So Zooms, video chats, drive-bys, different things, not drive-by shootings, but drive-by visitations, or, hi neighbor, or
Right.
whatever. How often do we just take off and really look at the beauty that the Creator has given us in our beautiful, beautiful northern New Mexico area? We're unique. Nobody's like this. And sometimes I think because we live here, we take it for granted sometimes.
Right.
So I ask you to really reflect on, what are the blessings that we really do have around us despite the hard, difficult times?
Right. Yeah. Even a phone call. I know. So we've had a couple of people in our lives that have been diagnosed with COVID and went through the whole sickness, the illness of it. And one of the things that struck me in a conversation with one of our coalition members was that he felt really isolated, and it was a really lonely time for them. And so that stuck in my head. And so now, as you know, as we know that numbers are rising, and as I find out that if people are sick, even if they just have a cold, because it's worrisome, even a cold right now is like, oh my gosh, do I have COVID, you know? And so I've been making it a point that if I know someone's sick or feeling ill, I'm checking in with them. I've been texting people and saying, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? Do you need anything? Can I get you something? And and they've, it's been a really good way to connect, even with people that I don't normally connect with, but I know, there, it's as simple as, hey, are you doing okay? I understand you're sick, but I want to check in with you and make sure that you're feeling all right, because I would hate to have someone feel lonely like this individual did, and felt like they were alone, especially, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, my life is on the line. I may pass away from this virus, and I'm here all by myself. And just like I even told him, I'm here. If you need to call me and pick up the phone and hear my voice, my human voice, then that's what I'm here for. So I think, it's just a good reminder for even, us, who, if we're healthy, check in on people, give them a call, say, hey, like, I was thinking about you, you came across my mind, I wanted to just stop in and say hello. So, that's just something that kind of stuck in my mind when, hearing about people who have dealt with the virus, and that place of loneliness.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I hear so many individuals who have or have been exposed, and one of the kids that I work with, who's just absolutely brilliant in terms of the way he looks at the world. He said, I guess we all got practice when we were younger being the one who might have had cooties.
Mm,
So we all remember what it was like when we were younger, where they're like, that person has cooties, and how isolating and how difficult personally that may be, to be like, oh my God, I'm contaminated, it, this, that, and the other. But I thought it was a really good reflection about putting us in that situation, just like you're saying, is remember what it was like when you were the one being teased to have
right,
cooties,
right.
you know?
And the stigma, because there's stigma with, getting the virus, and it's actually been talked about in quite a few meetings that I've been in, and I'm sure you've probably, experienced similar conversations, and that was another thing from another one of our coalition members who had the virus, and said, that stigma piece is really kind of like what is sticking, because even though they're healthy and healed now, people are still afraid to interact with them. So, yeah, we need to
Yeah.
have a little bit more compassion for our fellow humans at this, for this time.
Right. And I also think, Maria, I think one thing that we forget is that, those of us that come from large supportive extended families don't remember our community members who may not have that type of connection or support. And I think it's our responsibility as tribal members of our little villages to be able to reach out and let that person know how important and vital they are in our community and how much they do need that support.
Right,
And I think that also needs to, that's something that I believe I see as part of the mission of Vida Del Norte, is to continue to also create that for the substance misuse,
right.
and
Yeah,
creating that support, and, no ridicule, and no judgment. It's about how do we help and support and grow and make better.
right. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Brian. I really appreciate you coming on. I I don't know if anybody has any questions. Anybody that's watching, we'll give a few minutes if anybody has any questions for Brian or myself. We wanted to go live today, and just to talk about, these times, and especially going into the holiday, and the next holiday to come. Like Brian mentioned, we're used to being with huge families and interacting with cousins and uncles and aunts and friends, and and we're not able to gather like that right now, and it can be lonely even for all of us. I mean, for myself included, I have four four kids and a husband, and I do get lonely even being here at home. And even though we're a larger family, it still can be lonely, because I want to see my best friends. I want to hang out with them. I want to go and be with my nieces and my nephews, and see my great nieces and my great nephews. We just had a brand new niece born, and I haven't met her yet, and I want to be able to do that now for the holidays, and we can't. So it is, like you said, a lot of grief and loss. So yeah, really appreciate
Yeah.
you coming on.
So if I can just, kind of also just put out some names just so people feel really connected with knowing that, in the Cuesta clinic,
Hmm.
the PMS clinic offers mental health services up in our area, as well as substance abuse support services. Taos Behavioral Health, we have expanded, and right now we have a Cuesta clinical program, which I'm the director of. And so I encourage anyone who needs support, who is looking for case management services, mental health services, to please reach out to Taos Behavioral Health and inquire about our Cuesta clinical program, because I think it's time that our community not be forgotten
Right.
anymore.
Right.
And then I think also understanding that in Taos there's Rio Grande Treatment Center, and there's other virtual AAs and different things to really support and maintaining that sobriety and that healthy mental behavioral health piece.
Right.
So I am forever, will pass on my number to you, Maria, that you can go ahead and post on the website so
Okay.
people can feel like they have access. Um, and just want to do my piece and my part and just really put strong energy and prayers out there to our community.
Yes. And I'm glad that you brought up Rio Grande, and then also Golden Willow uh, retreat also. And I believe that they're offering grief uh, groups virtually as well. So if anybody is needing support there, I'm typing them in the chat. That's why my camera is a little bit uh, moving right now. Um, and we also, so if you also go to our website, vidadelnorte.com, we have a list of resources, and all of these are listed there. And then we've also have the virtual AAs and NA groups as well. We're working on finding some support for our kids as well, for virtual assistance, whether it's suicide, substance use. Those are some other things that we're working on, and those will be in our on our resource page as well. So don't be ashamed. Feel free. It's all private. You can't. You go and click on a link. We don't know that you're clicking on it. Go ahead and utilize it.
Right. Maria, I just really want to thank you for all your organization, your hard work, the community outreach. Um, I love sitting in coalition meetings. I think now that I'm up north, it's just made it so much easier for me to be present. And I'm really, really, really just really amazed and grateful for your role in just supporting our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. We're working hard, and we're we're moving along. Just also gonna just throw this out there. We are helping the village of Cuesta decorate the town for Christmas, and we're looking for any donations, Christmas decoration donations, to help. Just we want to bring some Christmas spirit to the town. We want people to drive through and smile, and just have a little bit of excitement when they're driving through town, especially now. So if anyone has any decorations or would like to help us decorate and put stuff up, just feel free to reach out to us. My number is 575-779-2260. You can contact me to donate or volunteer. And then also, if you don't have access to the internet and you need some of these resources, I'm happy to help. I in my past jobs, that's what I would do, is linking up people to resources. So I have a lot up here, and I'm always willing to share that information. So if you need any support, feel free to reach out to me as well. Well, thank you again, Brian,
Great.
and I think we'll go
Just
ahead and
what?
end it here. Sure.
Hold on, one more thing, because we just got a really important question on the chat that I just want to
Oh,
talk about. So William brought up a great question: charge for service, therapy, all of that. So Taos Behavioral Health, we are a nonprofit organization. So most of our services are Medicaid covered, Medicare covered. We also accept private insurance for mental health services. We do have some slight funding for non-documented and individuals who don't have Social Security or access to support services. And then also, we are a clinic that does a sliding fee. So, our biggest thing, because we're a nonprofit, is not about the money and making, big money. It's more about how do we serve our communities. So, William, thank you so much for asking that question. And I don't want cost or money or anything to deter anyone from getting the services that they need. So please, please, please reach out.
yeah. Yeah, thank you. That was a really good question. Thank you, William. And I think it's similar with PMS as well. They, just like what Brian said, Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance, and I do know that they have a sliding scale as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you so much, Maria. I hope and I give you and your family blessings this holiday season,
yes.
and we'll keep in touch.
All right. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And everyone who is watching, I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.